It's time to ignite your soul and unlock your full potential. Join us on Beneath the Helmet, the podcast exploring firefighters' health and wellness. Hosted by retired fire chief Arjuna George, our podcast is the perfect place to start your journey towards becoming the best version of yourself. So come on, let's join the conversation and find out what sets your soul on fire.
All right, welcome back to Beneath the Helmet, everyone. Season 3. Pretty awesome to be here. We have an awesome episode in store for you today. We got Robert Cefoli from FDNY, former captain FDNY, now the co-owner of FYR Tribe. And we are going to dig into something that's very passionate to me, that I kind of saved my life, honestly. We're going to dig into something called TRE, tension, trauma release exercises, tension/trauma release exercises. So without further ado, welcome to the stage, Rob.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Good to be back. Second time around.
Yeah, the first time around for the listeners listening right now. We had a power outage on my end and lost the episode. So I had a great chance to sit down and chat with Rob before, and now we got a chance to record this and put it out to the world. So
awesome.
In my opinion, a very, very important topic. And Rob and his crew at FYR Tribe are doing some amazing work in the TRE world. So very passionate about this. So I'm looking forward to digging into it. So first of all, let's, just jump in. You just recently retired, FDNY, former captain, and now co-owner of your own business. But tell us a little bit about who Rob is and kind of what brought you to where you are today.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for having me on. It's an honor just to share a little bit about what we've been doing out here. A little background. I just finished up, like you said, I'm recently retired. I got the retiree beard going right now, pretty strong. And it's nice not to have to shave for work, right, for a little bit. That's pretty cool. But I finished up about 20 years, just over 20 years as a captain. I started my career in Brooklyn and Crown Heights. I was lieutenant in Staten Island and Brooklyn and captain of 211 engine in Williamsburg, is where I finished up. And when I was lieutenant, I kind of went up to the health and fitness unit as an instructor. That was for just like an assistant role to the director at the time. And then I wound up taking that over, and I was up in that position from 2018 through my retirement. So I was able to work with a lot of the academy staff, probationary firefighters, probably over 4,000 or so that went through while I was up there, and just learned a lot, and a lot of those kind of roads that we paved just in training, injury reduction, looking at pre and post COVID and what we were seeing in the population base, that type of stuff, kind of led us to this TRE model and method that we instituted in the department. And it did start with a personal experience. I think that's how many people start looking at TRE more in depth when they get shown it for the first time. It's hard to talk about. It's hard to kind of explain it. Still have a hard time a couple of years later. This was going back to early in 23. So we're almost about 2 years into when I first got introduced to TRE. So, made some good progress in the last year and a half or so.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So how did you even come across TRE as a modality? Like what were you seeking for personally? And then what did it do to you? Like what changes in your life did you come to see from TRE?
Yeah, hopefully we have enough time, but it's a lot to unpack there. So I was actually feeling pretty horrible in my own body early, late 22 and early 23. I had some stuff going on. I had a neck injury that I sustained from work that I thought was from, obviously from work related, some bulging discs and things like that. I couldn't move my head, mobility issues. That was basically just some time off, PT, that type of thing. No real surgery, nothing like that. The winter after that was the summer of 22. And then 23, actually, my lower back kind of got locked up pretty bad after a multiple lawn that we had. And I attributed it basically to just heavy lifting that day and a lot of time on my feet with the mask on and doing I was an active battalion chief at the time, and we were kind of like on scene for about 3 hours, let's say, like walking around with the mask on. Usually for me, as you get older, you wear that mask too long, everything just starts to get locked up a little bit. So I kind of brushed it off as a couple of days of rest, and I'll kind of be back together. And kind of got a little worse the days following. So instituted, recovery protocols, your foam rolling, stretching, but my training had to take a back seat because I really couldn't move that well. And progressively over the next few months, kind of like got worse and worse and worse, where it was impacting me at home. It was impacting me at work. Hard to get out of the gear. I have young boys, I have 3 toddler boys, 5 and under, home full time. So it's like they're all over you, and you really can't engage them as much as you want to because you're just kind of in a lot of pain. Really felt like my hip girdle and like my pelvis was really just kind of locking down, my low back. So a lot of immobility, that type of thing. Just chronic annoyances, right? Sometimes we just kind of brush off when we deal with stuff in our line of work for a long time. And we don't realize that we're walking around with this kind of tension. So I was going back up to run one of the spring classes. And 2 of my lieutenants that had come up. One was Adrian Caban, another one Anthony Simoncini. They're also co-founders of FYR Tribe. Again, it's a not-for-profit. We kind of formulated that throughout this whole process to reach our retirees. That was one of our ideas in the beginning. And a lot of it stems from just being introduced to TRE from Adrian. And Adrian's kind of like my go-to for any aches and pains that I have. He's a massage therapist, officer for 20 years, trainer, does cupping, does all these wacky things, right? And he goes, "You got to try this TRE that I took a course in that once, didn't complete it, but he had some background." So I said, you know what, I'll try anything because stress really was the root cause of what I was feeling ultimately, and I didn't register that really ever in my life of how much stress impacts the body, right, in a somatic way. So and these are things I would never think about if I wasn't introduced to TRE. So we started doing this shaky thing, which is what kind of we all say, this weird shaky thing on the ground in the beginning, right? It's just some strange, weird thing that happened to me, right? And I didn't really get it. And I just was, I just needed to be relieved a little bit. I just needed to have that relief in my body where I can move again and start doing things that I like to do as a trainer and as a physical person, right? So I think it was about 7 to 10 days where we were doing about 10 minutes of the shaking on the floor after like a light workout or something like that, and just trying to move it a little easier. And I started to notice that I was actually opening up. So that was my first kind of aha moment, like, oh, all right, I feel a little better. And the things that we're doing, coupled with TRE, which was a different program than I've been used to for myself. So it was more like more foam rolling, more glute work, more things that like maybe imbalances in the body that would he noticed that I really wasn't paying attention to. So there's a couple of things that we were doing at the same time, zone 2 cardio, things like that, where we were adding more of those things in and retreating from what we were doing before, right? And obviously at that point I wasn't doing much because I really couldn't move. So I was like up for anything, like put every cup in your box on my body at once, like whatever you got to do. Like I just want to be able to move better, like get it in and out of a chair without holding my breath, that type of thing. That's where I was kind of at physically, like in a vice. And when I look back at where I was at in my life, I really did realize that I did take on a lot of responsibility. Number one, running the fitness for the FDNY, company commander now, worrying about getting a spot, that type of thing with promotions. I had more children, so I have like 3 more boys now. I have a daughter I had a divorce going on from years back, so back and forth with her. She's had a diagnosis early on of like autism, so it's high functioning. But again, those other issues carry forward, financial issues with court and stuff like that. And then just trying to like live your life and balance it all. And I'm like, maybe there is like a little bit of a stress thing going on that probably is going to impact me that I wasn't looking at before. So let's look at that as the root cause rather than maybe it was an injury or maybe it was just that one job. But maybe it was just like a lot of things that happened. And that was the beginning. So we decided that for our unit, we wanted to get certification, being that it was like a physical response and we were looking at recovery and injury prevention mainly. And we saw the response in the Proby classes change pre and post COVID too. So like their resiliency levels seem to drop. Their ability to manage themselves under like multitasking or the rest seemed to be kind of diminished than previous classes, if that makes sense. It was more of it. So we kind of attributed to that lockdown state where you come out of that and now you've been traumatized. Like you literally been like told your family members close to you are gonna die if you go see them, right, for the longest time, and you don't know what to believe, and the world's upside down. So society, I think, took a turn where everyone got a little more sympathetic. All right, and that's kind of where we were at with. We started looking at heart rate recovery. We started looking at what we can do with breath work more, like more things than diving into those areas where it may not be mainstream, but it's something that we see as like a tool for the first responder, right? So we teach down regulation, we teach the mental performance, and we teach a lot of things about how to maintain yourself under stress. But if you're coming in and you're so heightened that you can't even focus, what's that about? So we had to find new ways to kind of work with that in our space. And so we went with TRE, and I was like, I started feeling better, look good. I kind of got a little more information from Adrian and background. I'm like, all right, sounds good. Still don't fully get it, but I trust my team to give me the best information. As I rely on them to perform the program the way it needs to be done safely and effectively. Vice versa, I looked for ideas, and it worked a little bit for me at first. And this was something we were looking for anyway. So, hey, let's go with this. And we wound up going right to the source, Dr. Cefoli. Adrian had made contact with him. And initially, he had not been trained by Dr. Cefoli. He was a separate provider that he had gone to. So we wanted to get it from the horse's mouth, and being the FDNY, I think we had the ability to write that proposal up, get that funding for them to come in and work with TRE to kind of set up our training the way that we could learn it best, which is like in person, like intensive 3-day, let's go. Like, we want to figure this out. How do we do this? And then in that point is when I had my emotional unraveling, per se, where I really did realize the power of it. And I realized how much the body just keeps everything that you go through in layers, right? And there might be a big chunk, or there might be light layers, but everything kind of gets piled on. And then I connected the stress level and how my body was kind of getting compressed over and over again. I'm like, wow, all these levels of stress that I've added, I'm not mitigating it. And it's just taking a physical toll. And being a physical being and being first responders, that's where we should look, because when we go to our normal sources of relief, it's usually just counseling or pills or something like that, right? Or you have to get, and a lot, for us in our department, it's like if something happens like a line of duty death, it's 2 weeks. You're taking off for medical, but you're going to the counseling to talk about everything, which, I've gone there a couple times and left there probably like, that really didn't work. They don't know what I'm talking about. They're not firefighters. They weren't there, that type of thing. And then I really hadn't registered yet till about a few months after, which, I had, we could talk about 2008 next, but I don't want to jump ahead.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Flash forward to today. What changes have you seen in your body, your mental health, your physical health from doing TRE? Anything that's like life changing?
Yeah. I think there's a little big releases that had happened over the last, let's say, year or so. The first few months was basically surface level, feeling looser, feeling better, looking at the recovery aspect of it, like, hey, it's going to help my body release some tension, and that's going to be good for me for movement. I started running a little easier, squatting again. Things that were like kind of hindered by how I felt were coming back. So that was, and the surface level looked great for a recovery tool. Another thing they added into the mix to teach our not only our members and our current people, but our new guys, so they have a skill for like besides foam rolling, besides the breath work, besides the stretching, besides everything we're doing, recovery workouts and cardio and non-impact stuff. TRE looked like another thing we could add in. And then working with Cefoli, it actually, I posted my video, but it had a huge response. And I realized that a line of duty death that I was involved in early came out. It was like this big flooding event, they call it. And, it really was a strange thing, because the control factor of first responders is immense, right? We have to control every situation we're in. We can't break, we can't cry, we can't talk about our feelings, right? We go back to that firehouse, we start just going back to normal life and joking and that dark humor. That's our culture, right? And I love everything about that. But it does not dismiss the human side of that, right? Where we are really affected as human beings to a point where we don't realize what's happening to us unless we're aware. So becoming aware of like, wow, that was still in my body. And once I flooded and it came out and that passed, it connected me to that event, and I had a secondary kind of release in that same session where it was another just random run that I had in my career that affected me probably more than I ever realized. It was a young boy about 9 years old that passed away that I worked on, and those were like two things in that one day that released out of my body, and also that the tremors were able to migrate through from the lower half of my body, which was normal for me, and then finally kind of broke through, which I didn't realize could even happen. We don't know anything. And it's just like our first day with Cefoli, I was the first guy to go. And I had this thing where for 3 months already, I've been shaking a little bit here and there and nothing really crazy. And then all of a sudden you get this holy shit, like what just happened to me? Mm-hmm. And my eye color got lighter that day. He told me that my wife would say something, which was a very strange thing that happened. I started to notice my perception of every single thought had started to shift more towards my family and being present and just become a better man and becoming like more spiritual. Like all these things started to happen in the last, say, 18 months, but slowly. And every so often I'd have a big, shake session where, my body would contort into a position when I strained at the gym. And I say, holy shit. And that thought of that day, I'll be lifting that weight, came back, and then it was gone. And that whole area got warm. And it was like a weird just sensation that started happening. So every so often you'll have these, like, I call them like blips on the radar, where you have these like bigger releases that they're probably just compacted with layers and layers of just normal stuff, right? That we all deal with. So it really brought me to a more at ease decision to retire because of the amount of hours that we were working, and you're getting pulled back. Like, how can you leave the job you love, right? And what's more important, right? It was always work first for me. It was always like, let me set my schedule, and then everything else around it I could fit into place. But first comes work, and now it's first comes my family. So that's kind of, it made it a little bit easier for me to kind of transition out. This FYR Tribe idea came from, we looked at how well our training went, and then our ability that we brought volunteers into the training, and they super profound. So we were looking at each other and like, we're not the only ones that think this was like really, like, we feel really good. And then the next people felt really good, and they were like, what is this? From 25-year veterans to like people with 2 years on, and we had probies in there that were injured, so we brought them in, and light duty people that were driving the Chiefs, like, come in, and we're bringing everybody into the room. We're like, just try this. And the response was just overwhelmingly positive. So we wound up being able to bring that into a workshop style. And we do a 1 day in the department. We did 3 last year. We have 4. Well, they have 4 this year. I'll be participating as an adjunct with that as well. Because again, this is like a brand new kind of method. We still have a lot of work to do with getting our members trained to teach it. So we're building out a training with TRE. I know there's a lot going on here, and I'm kind of probably going far, but we could touch on any of these things a little bit more in depth. But we're at the point now where, we were the first group to be globally certified with TRE. After the agency training with Dr. Cefoli, took us about 6 months to all complete it through online work with TRE trainers, and we opened up FYR Tribe to be able to get these workshops out to our retirees. So I want them speaking to our retiree groups first, our peer counselors, our counseling services unit, just trying to get the word out about what we've been doing internally and saying, hey, we want to offer this resource somehow, some way to our retirees, get them, because they're forgotten, right? They've lost their tribe, they've lost their connection in their group, right? That's a big thing with retirement. So for me, it keeps me involved in the fire service too. So it's like, I don't have that hole, that I used to have. And I volunteer training high school athletes now in the morning. So like, I have my training kind of satisfied, and I have my connection to all different fire departments and service members around that could use this. And we've went to our first out of city department last month in Henderson, Kentucky, from a podcast. I was contacted, and people are looking for these type of relief. And I think coming from first responders that walk in the path, it's being received really well, versus coming from a clinician or something like that, or somebody outside our population. where they're like very skeptical, which we are. So
Totally. So
I think
true.
that's why we're doing so well with it, is that it's just coming from the heart. Like, listen, I had a profound experience. My team, we all experienced this. We see the value in it, and we're bringing, like, people are joining the tribe, and they're really spearheading the progression of it on their own, because they've had they're thankful to have this in their life, because once you learn it, you really got it, right? You're not going to need to, like, as a trainer, I can train you 3 times a week for forever if you like, and just give me the money and come and work out. But my goal as a trainer is to teach you something so you can take this and go, right? I don't want to train you forever. I want to train you for a short time. So with TRE, it's kind of the same model. Like, we'll give you a few sessions supervised, make sure you're safe and comfortable and it's effective and you know kind of the ins and outs of it. Then it's really self-exploration after that and letting it do its work over time, which is pretty cool, right? We don't have to continue this forever. Everybody's going to have to get this stuff. That's where we're at. We have people that need this. We had a police officer kill himself last week, a week after another one. We have cops, we have firemen, we have EMS. Our EMTs are exposed to more things than firefighters sometimes. So, and then our cops in New York City are being ravaged left and right, what to do with their, careers, so they're living with that all day, and they're bringing that residue home, which I was too. You're coming home and you're acting a way that that's not fully you, if that makes sense. So, like, with those sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system information, that kind of still confuses me a little bit, but I got a good grasp on it. It's like, hey, half of me's gone because of my job. I became my job. Now, who am I really now, 20 years later? What kind of man am I? And I can just redefine that going forward, because now I'm at ease with my emotions. I'm a little bit more connected to the emotional side. I'm not, it's not a bad thing. I think for a lot of the service, it's looked at as bad, but I also think it can make you very resilient. I think it's part of that, being able to shift in and out of those phases, be present and be a father and be a husband and be, whoever you are at home, and then go be, captain or lieutenant or firefighter at work, not be that guy at work home as well, because that just is a detriment to the family structure. And we see a lot of divorces, we see a lot of drinking, we see a lot of issues and drug use now, and domestic violence. And maybe people don't understand why they're acting like that. It's probably because they're being impacted more than they know about.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, I know. I could be a little long. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. It gives me so much. I just got to remember all the questions I want to ask you now.
Just put your finger up and say, just 1 second.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say, honestly, we have a very, very similar path on finding TRE, going through it, retiring from the fire service, wanting to share it with the world. Very similar. I can resonate a lot with what you're saying there. And I'm assuming it kind of, well, I think you even said it helped you retire, and it definitely helped me retire as well. And it gave me the tools to thrive and still give back to the fire service, which is what I really wanted to do, right? I didn't want to just cut off and start working at a bookstore. I want to support the fire service and the first responder community across the world, right? So yeah, very similar path. So I love that.
Yeah, you have to be purposeful, right? You need a purpose when you leave, and you can't leave that void like we talked about with retirement. You have to have something. Everybody's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to do a lot. I'm just not going to come here anymore. It's totally. I'm going to cut that part out, that stress out, the traffic and the scheduling and all that stuff. And I had the ability to do it. Thank God. I worked my tail off to get to a point where I had the choice. And I think early in my career, that's one of the things that the senior guys always said, to get promoted, like, take the test, you can always turn it down. Always give yourself a choice. So I kind of always live by that. Like, say yes and kind of take opportunities and figure out where you want to, move to in the job, and promotion or not, or engine versus truck, or rescue school, whatever you want to do. There's all different pathways. It's a short career because it does kill us eventually, right? Like, short, our lifespans cut 10, 15 years just from working regular. Right. And then we had 1,000 hours of overtime. We had more nights not sleeping. Then you had more contaminants and more issues. It is what it is, right? We took on it. But I think if you work the career hard enough and you have a purpose that's you, actually, it's not, you're not the job. And I think even everybody, like normal people, they'll work to their 70 at their job because that's their identity, And I think that I was able to kind of step back and say, wait, that's part of that's what I do, and I'm proud of it, and I'm dedicated to it. But who am I really is I'm going to be figuring that out now. And I got that kind of flip the last year or so. And I think that's what kind of led me to saying, you know, this feels good doing this. You know, I like giving these workshops. I like training people. This is what I always have been doing for the last 20 something years. I've been training since I'm 22 years old, you know, and I'm working out some, 10 or whatever at home. And I think that's part of me. And I think that giving back education is something that gives me that excitement again, like being on a rig, going to a job, like kind of similar, but different aspect where I'm going to go help save people, but they're all people now. Because everywhere we go, dude, I'm telling you, the stories that come out, like you've seen a couple of them on social, like more of them are coming. We're going to Colorado the end of this month to Frederickson, Firestone. We were Henderson, and we're just going the next thing. But there's people that really are struggling, and it's not in these huge cities. Sometimes it's in these places where, you know what, maybe the run volume isn't that much, but that one event, that one accident, that one fire could really mess somebody up. It could be detrimental to their whole life, and maybe this tool, I'm not saying it will do it all, but the tools that we teach support TRE, and TRE supports the tools that we teach. So we take our experience, we take our fitness backgrounds, we're looking at research studies. Adrian and Anthony are good on data. We looked at our own people so much that we say, listen, if it's happening here, it's going to happen. It's pretty much happening everywhere. And when you look around, it's not just the fire service; it's all first responders, right? And we are I haven't seen it anywhere else, so let's go for it. And everyone we've shown it to has had basically the same response once they understood it. So the better we can explain it, the more we use our stories and our it is what it is. I'm not here to like beat around the bush, just like, what's the problem here, ma'am? Like, let's go here. All right, let's fix this. Let's get out of here. It's the same thing. Like, how do we learn this really quickly and efficiently? How do we put it into practice? Now, how do we duplicate the process by spreading the word, getting training out? And that's where we're at now, which is, 2025 is going to be a big year for us, and I think that like people like yourself, collaboration with other people in the same direction will lead to what needs to happen, which is tools for us that we provide. And it's not coming from the outside saying, we think we know how to help you guys. Actually, you know what? We're working from the body first, right? And then we can go talk to somebody. That's what I feel is the best way, because now I can discuss things without having that physiological response every time.
100%. 100%.
I had a drill on my, wind-driven fires for 2 years, going around talking about this, these things. And it's like, now I realize every time I did that, I was just regurgitating in my body. My body thinks it's happening over and over and over again because it's still carrying it. You still just carrying it around. I don't carry it anymore. It doesn't have as much weight as it does. January 3rd just passed. That's the anniversary. Like, I was busy with my kids. It came in and out. It wasn't like a long thought process as it was years ago. And as time went on, obviously time distances you from that, but realizing that I did have that come out of me, like, I don't feel the same anymore. I just don't. I've kind of like gone through all those phases of guilt and anger and, a numbing and coping, and then just bury and move on, you quote unquote. But it was still in there. So now that it's out, I just feel like it made me pivot a little bit more, and it did make me reevaluate a lot of things and have more hope and more kind of direction of what I'm feeling, so that way I can feel the direction to go in, if that makes sense.
100%. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there of, working on the body before you have to talk about it. Because going into a therapist and having a conversation with somebody you maybe don't know, you don't have a relationship with, and reliving your story, like you say, your body's going to start protecting you, and you're probably not going to open up like you would if your body was in a parasympathetic rest and digest kind of relaxed state, right? So
correct.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. I love that.
Yeah. So we say, our thing is bottom up. We're working from the bottom up.
Sure.
And when we feel good in our bodies, then we're going to be more adept to just the discussions and then those techniques to the cognitive level. I think that maybe we just been pushed that one way because that's really the only thing that's been available. Because it is a little weird, right? It's a little strange. My wife really started digging into TRE recently, and she goes, "It's very weird, very strange." I go, "I know," but she had our last child. She had an epidural site that got kind of numb, kind of numbed out, and I think it's been about 4. We did 4 sessions so far, and tingling sensation. She's like, the site area is, she's got feeling back in there now, which is, it's like a weird side thing. She's like, that's, so you want to hear something weird? She's like, I'm starting to feel my back, that area in my back again.
Oh.
I'm like, all right, hopefully jot it down, journal that, right? Because that is things like people notice weird stuff happening like to themselves, whether it be emotional, cognitively, or even physically. Like things are starting to change a little bit, not one and done like anything else, but we've had that too. People like, this is weird, stupid, I don't want to do it anymore. It's because you're not open to it, right? So we're looking for the people that are open, the departments that are forward thinking, right? That want to protect their members' resiliency. Number one, it's going to make you have much better. I can get 3 toddler boys home 16 hours a day running amok, right? I'm volunteering at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm cooking all the meals here. We're doing all the scheduling now. Like, I went through a year of just grinding at work. It helped me. It helps me mitigate. It helps me just take on more, reset my body kind of every few days. When I can feel when I need to do it again, I know when I need to get it, I'll have a nice shake session and kind of go about it. So I put it into the mix very simply, easily. You don't need any tools, and it's something that you just need to learn, that you have available, and then show you the way. And then, you can stay with it on your own, or we start opening it up to a lot more people and make it a real thing, like a real, like service wide or first responder wide tool, that many people don't know about. Some people do, but like I said, we've talked to a lot of people who really can't get people to buy into it. And I just think the authenticity of people that are going through this, it sold me like right away, because my friend told me about it, right? It's like he's like, this guy's got to come, and I'm like, all right, listen, I'll trust you because you're my guy. But if Dr. Cefoli emailed me, I'd be like, this guy's, what? Who is this guy? Like, what is going on here? Yeah. But now I just spoke to him 2 days ago, and he's like, you guys made so much. He's like, loves our social media now. He's like all about it. And I'm like, because he sees that's his baby. We took that and we kind of made it a little malleable, and then added our stuff to it that makes everything kind of jive pretty well. Things that maybe he never thought about either. So it's pretty cool how you can evolve it down the road a little bit, and we keep doing that. So it's pretty exciting right now where we're at. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
I think we've whetted everyone's appetite of the power of TRE, but there's probably a listener right now going, I still have no clue what this is. So what is TRE, and how would you describe it as somebody who's like a first responder who's never heard of this before? How would you introduce it to them? What would be your method or your language you use?
Yeah, I what we've kind of went with as a group, and even myself as an individual, is it's just, if you look at your life, is there anything that stresses you out? Yes. And you can name one thing, for example. One thing that stresses
politics.
Politics, right? So 2010, we started getting all this information on social media fed to us over and over again. This is 14 years now of this, right? And now the last few years, it's been mayhem. And no matter what we do, that you're in fight or flight every time you're looking at that stuff, because you're not in control of that, and you're going to have a response physically that's going to just embed, right? So if I hear that missiles are in the United States from Iran through the border, I live in New York. They're gonna shoot a missile here, right? Then I start thinking about the plume if I see from my house. Am I gonna respond in? Like, what am I gonna do now? Like, start having this downward spiral of stress and anxiety that comes out of it, and my body doesn't know if it's fake or if it's real. And every time you go through anything like that, it's gonna leave a layer and a tension pattern in your body, right? It's gonna create a little bit of tension, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of sympathetic response. And I just say that TRE is the way to like shake out the shit. So we teach you how to manipulate a tremor in your body that's dormant right now. It's in your DNA. Every mammal on this planet tremors, right? And as simple as put it, you undergo a lot and you need to get rid of it. Otherwise, it creates dysfunction in the body and an imbalance, and it creates tightness. Like your neck hurt, your back hurt, right? You have these ongoing ailments. How do you feel talking to somebody if your neck is bothering you? You're just not going to be engaged with that person. So now we're going to be disconnected. So we're disconnecting from ourselves through our job, through our sleepless nights, through our traumas, through our constant stresses about the world and finances and kids and what's going to happen. And on top of that, now I got to go to Miss Jones's house and pull her out of the rear bedroom burnt to a crisp. And I'm still a human being. And then I'm going to go back to quarters, and then maybe later I'm going to have a mullet at OD'd. 2 miles on Mother's Day at OD'd. The day up and down I worked that Mother's Day. Or I got the kid that died, little Johnny, with the father screaming in the back of my head. Or I got Johnny Nice guy that I got to find on the floor and the wind-driven farm and be like, holy shit, we got a Mayday, we got a guy down. And it just imprints. The second you're there, it just imprints. And it imprints. And it just creates that polarizing effect for your whole career. And then you leave your career and you've lost your tribe and you've lost your people and you're disconnected at home and you don't know how to get your emotions back and your wife's calling you a sarcastic asshole and you're cold and you're angry and you're yelling and you're like, this is me. And I'm here to say it's not you. It doesn't have to be. There are other ways. And maybe this could help you. And then maybe these other things that we're talking about could just kind of support you to make that leap out of what you've been doing into your true self, and become the full person that you really wanted to be, but you kind of lost it along the way somewhere.
I love that.
In a nutshell.
I think you brought up a little earlier about the recovery aspect. And I think a lot of people think of TRE who know about TRE about tension and trauma. So stress and trauma. But what I've seen, and you're kind of doing that as well, is it's an amazing tool for recovery for spotters or for athletes or anything in that regard. Any experiences with the power of TRE for recovery in your aspects?
Well, personally, yes. I mean, personally, I've 180'd in how I felt from where I started. I'll tell you that much. I do think if you use it as an acute recovery tool, along with SMR, maybe saunas and cold plunge stuff like that, we've kind of tested it's doing TRE after like a somatic kind of thing, like where we're doing foam rolling or posture assessment or some band work, some stability work, and we've coupled it with TRE sessions. And we find that the connection to that mechanism is greater if you're doing something physical before. That's why the warm-ups are important to activate the tremor, right? The just traditional TRE warm-ups. But there are other things that we kind of explored that kind of work really well. One of them is just using a foam roll and then doing TRE. You actually, because you're feeling the parts of your body, doing a body scan, something that we do at our workshops. We have them do a full body scan. We walk them through that whole thing, and we do it in the beginning, at the end of the workshops, the awareness workshops. So we do 3 sessions in the awareness workshops. So we kind of do it on the bookends, and the body scan is where, oh, wow, this part of my body was bothering me, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. But for just the athlete, I think it opens up the body a lot. I know when I did the Cefoli 3-day intensive, and I had that monster release, I had tested my mile. I think it was the Sunday, and then he was there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I ran on Friday just to see how it went, because I felt better. I was like, I feel a little better. Let me see if there was like any difference. And it was from my house, I just ran a mile the first time, and from my house, I ran a mile the second time, and it was a minute difference. So it was a minute difference, and I felt better. Like I felt more ease of movement in the hips and in the hip flexors, and like, man, I feel great. And I think that big release helped me to kind of progress forward and wow, opened me up. Squatting was easier, running is easier. So for an athlete, when I teach these high school kids, I think one of the things I will probably eventually get to is TRE as recovery. I think as a global provider, I can do that. And I can work outside our population, our first responder population. So I just think that a lot of the things I saw in the academy in terms of like athletic performance, because that's really what we're doing there, right? We're trying to improve their conditioning, improve their mobility, improve their strength to a point where they can be functionally fit as firefighters, right? They might be coming in and been a gym bro, or they came in doing nothing and they're severely overweight, right? Because again, the shutdown took a downturn to the health section of the world, right? They just shut down all the gyms and they made everybody sit inside and this whole thing, where that's probably wasn't the best thing for them. But when we train people, we have to bring them to a certain level to exit and be an asset in the field. Similar to high school, I said, well, if they're 30 coming like this, we got to get them earlier. So I think instilling something like this, I did it with my daughter. She's 12, not 13. So we started when she was 12. That seems to be the bottom age for kids. And I think for athletics too, it could be a useful tool. Like just if you learn about it, again, super anxious, kids are on their phones way too much, on their iPads. They're definitely operating at a higher stress level than we were at that age. And dealing with athletes at that age as well, you're coupling, they're probably overtraining, most of them, because they don't know what to do and how to prioritize and program themselves correctly. So that could be something, if we taught them that, not only would help them with their emotions and their anxiety, but also could help them perform better, hopefully stable of injury, so they can compete at higher levels. So I think there's just so much that it's useful for, and it's a very simple thing to learn and then just implement. Very short amounts of time, a few times a week, or longer sessions, less times a week. Whatever it needs to be, you will know based on how you feel. I've been incorporating with my wife. Again, she had a couple of C-sections, and the last one was an emergency C-section. So it was a kind of a traumatic experience for her. And ever since then, she's been like racking her brain with toddlers and me not home. So this whole year and a half also has been very stressful inside my home. So one of my things is trying to help her bring it down, reset herself so she could feel good as best she can, because that's something I look as very important for us now. Maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, it wasn't even on my brain how much she is impacted. Another thing I realized going through this process is that, yes, the amount of work away really impacted home. And this is another tool for my family, not just for me. And another first one, it's for the families of those people, the people that lost loved ones, that, sustain life-threatening injuries and maybe are disabled for the rest of their life. That community really needs to be involved in this as well, because it's for everyone. As humans, it's for everyone. But we're just coming to our first responder community because that's who we are. That's what we see the need for, and that's the response we had. And we realized something that was profound. Whereas if we stopped maybe a month in and never got Dr. Cefoli in and said, you know what, this is kind of weird, it's cool, I feel better, but let's move on. Like we could have went the other way too, and this never would have came about. And so to date, we probably have shown TRE to about 1,000 or so, between all our Pro B classes that have one class, we got 3 sessions done, which makes them TRE aware, which is pretty cool. About 300 TRE aware Pro Bs coming out, have the understanding, can use the tool. The workshops are going on, the resources that are involved in the online portion of their training manuals and stuff like that in video. So it won't go away. But keeping up with that every class is tough without the training of the next instructors and making sure there's more people to be able to facilitate this, even in the FDNY. Because again, a lot of red tape, a lot of constraints on things. So what we found is that sometimes the smaller mid-sized departments are the ones that really need something like this, and it's easier for them to get it. So bring us out, we'll do it in a half. We'll come back in a few months, give the guys the agency training, set them up in the right space, and now you have a hub. Like, we want to create hubs of trainers that can facilitate in their area, like Henderson and Evansville are across the river in Kentucky and Indiana, and they run in with each other. So Henderson department now can get their agency trainers to bring in Evansville and teach them their awareness. Awesome. It's just how that should go. And they have it was a strong story there with the girl Kayla, who create a wild story about a firefighter in Evansville that was murdered 5 years ago. Just came out on 2020 documentary a week before we got there. He was the first EMT on site to the firefighter, and we run in with him. Oh my God, like that type of thing. And then his guys come and go, holy shit, it's, that's tough, man. That's really bad. And now where's the help? Right? Who's helping those people work and get back on the rigs and be able to function, And it was a week prior to that 2020 documentary come out. We dropped into Henderson, and then Kayla's in our workshop, and then she sat down after one session and was like, she came out with the story, and I was like, we were like, oh my God, really? Like, that's insane.
So obviously TRE's made a huge impact in your life. Now you're sharing it with the world. What does Rob do on a daily basis for your own wellness outside of TRE? And maybe share what your TRE practice is. Is it once a week? Is it once a month? Is it as needed? What does that look like for Rob?
Yeah, right. So I would say for TRE, it's I feel it out. I know when I need it. And if I have the opportunity, I probably will gravitate to that if I have downtime. Tough with the kids around, you can do it in your life. You can do it watching TV, do whatever. But for me, it's come down to when I feel like I need it, usually about twice a week, give or take, and usually more in the evening time. I like to wind down with that. I do couple it with foam rolling and yoga as well. I think that I do a lot of foam rolling. I think that's one of the staples of my life. I think you can feel those muscles and those areas so much more when you're needing them out, right? Making that connection. And I think that when we recently changed to doing it prior to TRE, it works really well with either the short workout or a short type of SMR session, and then the TRE as like a recovery tool. I think that pairs well. And I think for normal day of life for me, it's pretty much task oriented from the morning to night. I mean, right now I just retired, which is basically like things that have been put off for such a long time in the house, like all the honeydew list, right? Is my wife's got lists. It's bigger than Santa Claus. It's just like, all right, we got this room, we got these projects, got that room, this project, got these things. Now on top of that, we're trying to move FYR Tribe ahead. You're trying to figure out all these things, right? But for me, I always work out early. I think that starts. I try to get that in the morning as best I can. Depending on if the kids are coming in, I'm taking them in the gym with me. Obviously, I have a gym on my property that I train out of. So that's having that life that I've kind of created and the systems that I like to have, like early up, hit the training right away. That way, anything else that comes up, that's done. Finish it up with either yoga, foam rolling, TRE, watching some TV, or reading, or Bible study with my kids now. Like some really crazy stuff's been going on in my life. Like I'm going like in a weird direction, but I'm looking at religion. I'm looking at what do I want to teach my kids? Like all the skill sets that I've learned through the department. How can I impact other people more? And because of the pension, I'm like at ease for right now without worrying too much. I think a lot of the worries in a married life and kids and work, it's like your financial situation is like mine's not great by any means. Trust me, it's just stable, and that just adds a levity to it where I can start doing the things I like to do. Where I'm working with teens and working with teams. I actually gravitate to that. I train with them. I'm in the gym doing the work similar to what I was doing in the academy. So like it helps me to stay at a higher level and in the mid 40s, and the kids are 30 years younger, and you're able to see them shaking a little bit and huffing and puffing where you're like kind of still moving around, and it's a pretty cool experience for me. So that helps me get my training in early. Homeschooling all my kids, my young boys. My daughter's in school, but my boys were homeschooling right now for a little while. That's what another reason we decided to do what we did. So we were home more. Just like those type of things where it connects you back to just living home with your family. I mean, that's being with them more, and everything is around that. Where I train at home, we take hikes together, we shop together, we do these things where it's kind of just living life without the worry of, oh, I got to leave and I'll be back in like 36 hours or something like that, like a couple times a week. So that seems to be where I got to. I used to worry about so many more other things, and now it's just dig in here, be present, be with your kids, be the role model, be a good dad, be a good husband. How do I get better? What do I need to learn? What's next? What's next is how many people can we help? That's we all see it because there are other people now that are talking about it. There are other people that are sharing the logo is on people's bodies now. Like people are forwarding things and sending messages and coming to the workshops and coming back. People are TRE aware they're coming back to more workshops because they like the community style of what we're creating. And we have a lot of work to do to get that community built out, but I think we're going to be in a good spot, and it just keeps rolling. So I'm super excited about it. I don't know. It's just that's what I've been really thinking about all the time. I think about it all the time. It's crazy. 2 years ago I didn't even know about it.
Yeah. So. Well, we've only known each other for a few times virtually, anyways.
Yep.
But I gotta say, I'm very proud of you for taking that step, because I know it's hard to leave the fire service, especially when it's on your own terms. And we're still young people, and we left the fire service on our term versus either it killing us and having to go to a funeral, or whatever that could look like, right? Just being a miserable last 20 years of your life, right? So Proud of you for taking that step. I think that's a huge step. And I think that's also a message that a lot of people need to hear is it's okay to leave the fire service when your time is up, right? When your time is up, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's totally okay.
Yeah. I think that if you, the way I looked at it, I started to feel that I wasn't as excited as I used to be at work, and that was kind of the beginning. I was like, maybe it was just a lot of stress because my jobs changed and like where I was at added different levels of experiences, right? So it used to be breaking down the doors, putting the fires out, nozzle, right, all that stuff. Then you get to lieutenant. Lieutenant's great because like you always blame the captain. You can always blame the guys because like it's like that.
Yeah.
And the captain always got everything. And everybody said you have to get in and out of captain and get to chief. And I missed my battalion chief test by 2 months from my list. So it kind of got, but it also got me to be a fitness unit officer and then obviously the director because I had that time to get up there. And it actually was a weird situation because I went off out of the firehouse to go offline due to my personal situation, like the stress of my daughter's schedule with my ex-wife at the time. We didn't have a set schedule. I was worrying about so many different things, like my 24 partner, like what was his schedule, and then what she was telling me I couldn't do, and how much time did I have with my daughter. I said, if I could just go off and get a steady kind of schedule and I can work out and train people, I like that, but it's also going to be a relief in my life. And I think at that point, nobody really got what I was going through with our situation. So it was kind of like, we leave the firehouse a little frowned upon, like, oh, you don't want to be here, stuff like that. But it really wasn't like that at all. It was, I needed to just stabilize myself because I felt it. I felt like I was in a crack. And I didn't know, I felt so bad about having to always need something that it was a burden, And so that helped me to get there. So I think that the track kind of got slowed down for me to do that, and then it put me in a position to do this, which was coming from the bad. So everything bad that's happened, had to have happened, so then I could release it, and then show people that I always went like my stuff's not that bad, right? I think we all say that, like, oh, I'm not as bad as so and so, or I'm not as bad as fire department's not as bad as the military. Military, police got it much worse than us, and vice versa. But it's just relative to each person, right? So it affects us no matter what it is. Like you said, like if it's a financial thing, or if it's a political thing, or if it's a traumatic event, your body is going to register this like that. It's flight or flight. You're not going to be able to think it out or think through it at the time. And then you don't realize that it's clinging to you. And it's like, like a lint collector. That's a good one. Well, like big lint collectors for shit. We just keep on taking it. Yep. And then we act like assholes and drown ourselves, right? Because that's tradition. Well, maybe the tradition is there because we all are feeling something that we're uncomfortable in our bodies, right? After a while. But we just don't want to admit it because we don't be like, oh, you're soft. I don't consider myself a soft person. I just consider myself someone that finally realized what was happening to me and how I can then navigate to become better. That's how I look at it. And I'm not ashamed to say that, the experiences I went through affected me, but it took me like 16 years to realize it, that these things really are buried in me, and they're really affecting every single minute of my day, my thought process, how I interact with people, how I'm coming off to people. That energy that you're emitting is a certain way, right? And I've got it with my ex-wife and my current wife. You're cold, you're sarcastic, why you're such a dick? Like, I'm like, just me, right? We've all said that. It's just who I am. It's just who I have to be. I have to be this way because I can't go cry at the firehouse, and then go, to respond somewhere and lose my shit. I got to keep my shit together. That's what I've trained for. This is who I am. I become me. I become this thing. And then I lost something along the way, right? You always got to give something up, right? So we give up our parasympathetic side, right? Our emotions, our connection to people, right? So we're in like this socially disconnected universe, right? I feel like the kitchen table at the firehouse, family parties. We used to be big tables of people. Sometimes now it's like everybody's at the kitchen island bouncing around. nobody's just sitting there talking anymore. Everybody's just all over the place. So firehouse guys are sitting around like with the phones on, instead of having this conversation, drilling, talking about jobs, talking about this, so, I think we're losing a lot of that social connection. And this kind of brings that back, where the most thing I want to do is sit down and talk to somebody. This right here is the best thing for me to do, because we can have an honest conversation. And honestly, I don't haters or people that want to make fun of it, because I've had my own members, my own staff make fun of what we're doing, and it's like, I just go, they don't know enough. They don't know enough. Yep. Right? Because the first thing we do is we rag on everything as fire service, right? It's just, we break balls, and that's all. I'm a big ball breaker, and I'm pretty quick on it too. But when it comes down to it, I'm really excited to see people change. And I've seen it over and over again in the last year and a half, 2 years, where it's enough for me to validate, okay, everywhere we go, this is going to happen. Every single department that does this is going to have a group of people that experience it and go, holy shit. Because they have never heard of it. They've never done it. They don't even know they can do it. So until that day comes when somebody goes, this sucks, it hasn't happened yet. It's been 1,000 people plus. We've had multiple cities now we're going to. We have experienced people that want to get involved and support. So, I mean, how could it stop? The only way it would stop is if I give up. And now I can't give up because I got too many people rely on me. It's just like, the team, everybody's working hard on this, and they're putting their time in. Everybody's putting our sweat equity right now. That's what we're doing. We're doing sweat equity. Our video guys, firefighter, our content guys, we're all firefighters, lieutenants, captain, people want to volunteer now. Like, whatever you need. I'm like, I don't know what I need. I don't know, just wear a shirt. Let's go. Shake it on. We'll figure it out. But I'm not here to figure out the how. I just know what we have is, and and that's why we can collaborate. And I'm sure like one day I'll be driving up there and doing some work up there with you. And that's what I always wanted for my life too. I want to travel more. Like, I've been stuck in New York for basically my whole life, and I really haven't seen much. And I'm like, man, I'm in the mid 40s, man. I'm on the other half now. Technically, based on data, I got like 30 years left. I'm like, shit, like, that's not good, and I want to show my kids some new things and different stuff. And this is another skill for them in their life. When they come of age, they're going to learn this stuff, because that's a mitigation tool for stress. It really is. Like, so if we can help our families just chill out and reconnect, I think the world's going to be a better place.
Yeah, game changer. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you brought up the conversation piece, and during my heightened sympathetic time in the fire service, there's no way I could have a conversation, especially a podcast, for an hour long. I would be in agony trying to have that conversation. And now it's like, well, obviously I started a podcast, which
right.
I would never have thought I would want to do that. Right. Because I just didn't have the capacity to have any attention and have a good conversation with anyone. Right. It was always very brief, very factual, get to the point. But now I enjoy having deep conversations, right? So it's only because I have the capacity now to do that, right? So
yeah, the feeling came up at one point for you, and it was like, hey, maybe you should start talking to people, right? Like, or doing something that navigate that route. I think the feelings that came back for me, like you said, it brings you joy, right? So I remember the first time I felt joy when my kids were outside, and my son went to a Rubbermaid bin head first, so his feet are like kicking in the air like this, Allison's sitting there. I remember laughing so hard, and I felt it. And I went, whoa, what was that feeling I just had? And I'm like, wow, that was probably I think that was joy. So it's funny because now I'm like, every feeling I have, what is that feeling I got now? Now I can redefine these feelings. Like, is this excitement or anxiety? Oh, this is excitement. I'm actually excited about this. So it's allowing me to reframe a lot of those feelings. Like you say, like, what do I feel like doing? What do I feel like? Where should I be going with this? What should be the next step in life? Because you don't want to stay in the same place. Like, I could never. I was one person never to stay. Like, I could never stand still, right? Like, so at work I was promoting, and that was my track record. I was like, all right, I could do something for a certain amount of time before I get kind of like antsy in that seat. I could never picture myself being nothing wrong with it, but like a 30-year guy in one place like that. I couldn't do that. Like, for me, that's not what so I'm always looking to reinvent and evolve and branch out more. And I think part of the retirement thing was that I'd reached my limit of what I could accomplish in the FDNY for the time I had. So it would have been either stay another 10 years and then have the same type of situation with scheduling and anxiety and stress and family conflicts and just you got to be here for this, and that really tugs you a lot because at the firehouse you're like, oh, you need to pick that car for that guy, you're shit big, like you don't work overtime, like it could be that way too. So it's like you're getting it from both ends, and it's like I just want to like have everybody be happy, but I'm not happy, and then you start to do some of this type of work on yourself, and you start to feel things again and reconnect these areas of your life. You're like, wow, maybe I want to do this instead, or maybe I want to start a podcast, or maybe I want to go teach TRE to different places and show them what we've done here, and because what is the next step? Just stay right here and just do the same thing over and over again, or how much can we get done here, in this community? So I said it's a gift that I wanted to leave and have the guys kind of duplicate and train the trainers and get people moving, and we have to do that this year. But I want to see that continue, and then I want to see it be modeled in other places, because again, like I think we have a good idea what's going on here. I think we've had the most people experience it. I think we've had the most buy-in, and it's probably one of the hardest places to make people buy in the FDNY. It's just like you have a lot of tradition, a lot of heavy traditional departments. Change is always the problem, right? It's change, hate change, and I hate the way things are right now. Right? So it's like, right, let's just spread the needle and be honest really quick and say, listen, I've done the work. I've seen what happened. I've trained a lot of people. I've seen what they're going through, and we've seen changes and responses, and we have testimonials, we have video, we have surveys of this is really happening. So our goal now is to build a pilot study of 50 first responders, which we have, and that are TRE aware, that are going to self-facilitate TRE for a certain amount of time. And we're going to get a proposal together, and we want to bring researchers in, and we want to bring other people in to say, hey, we want this for our department, like because you have to show it, right? Because we can't explain it. So this sweat equity that we're doing is really to create a framework and a foundation of, hey, we can now explain this to people and show them, hey, look at this. Not, it's neurogenic tremors that come out of the body and it helps you with parasympathetic, sympathetic state, and yada, yada from trauma. Yeah. No, like, hey, just watch this person watch Charlie Wagner, who's 84 years old, retired in 9/11, been helping the fire service ever since, and he adopted TRE, and he's talking about it, not me. There's him. Here's Kayla Stone from Henderson, Kentucky. Here's Sammy Frater from Colorado coming up, right? And the people that are going to be coming down the pipeline on this, yourself included, we're out there, but we're sporadic, right? Okay. And Adrian, I think, came up with the tribe, and Fire Anthony came up with the Nordic FYR there as a little pun, right? But the golden flame of illumination and the tribe is the rebirth of us, right? And it's bringing everyone together now, because the people that are talking about it, one at a time, is going to catch. But if we create this community and we're all going forward in the same mission of, hey, we really want to help ourselves with resiliency, with mental health, with maybe helping the family members, helping the coworkers, the guys that died line of duty, the people that were at those jobs, right? They go into counseling like I did, and they go back to the firehouse, and then 3 months later they're having issues at home, and they're drinking, and I'm blacking out, I'm reliving things in my apartment. I'm like punching holes in the wall because I'm angry, and I'm like, crying here, and I'm yelling there, and I don't know what to do. And then I just go work out in the gym and figure, all right, forget about it. Right? Move on.
Lock that up and yeah.
Yeah, and shove it down and drive it down until you eventually cause harm to yourself, you cause harm to your family, or it doesn't have to be physical. It could just be that you're not there. You're just not there. And I think we get a lot of head nods when we talk about it. We talk about our stories, whether it be physical trauma, whether it be a line of duty death like I had, whether it be family suicides. Like, we all have something that has affected us, and that we can see that, hey, somebody else might have that going on. And it would be a very big shame for us to just keep it to ourselves. Dr. Rosselli's been traveling around the world. He's been trying to get this out. He's still doing it. He's in Oman now. He's going to China for a research study for 3 months. He's going to be in Indonesia. He's actually coming to the States in a few weeks, and we're trying to get him to come to Colorado with us. So nice. You got to come, because that would be the best thing ever, because he's watching this from the outside. And now that we've kind of had our discussion with him recently, and our next steps, He'll help us kind of line up the people that need to be with us on this. But I think as we go along, we've looked for help, but honestly, it's come through the process of first responders and the other organizations that we thought might have been backing us just don't understand it yet. So we're just building it out, and we're just going to keep on moving forward. So, love to come up by you. I'll go anywhere, if we can set it up to any department out there that's looking and it's forward thinking for their membership, in terms of not only giving them something to heal from, but also a tool now in the beginning that we've done and get it in early into their hands so that when things do come up and early in their career, they haven't built that callousness up yet. They're not going to kind of go off the cliff with it, right? Because it could be just one incident that brings somebody into a suicide.
100%.
And I don't know about you, but I've been to a lot of funerals, been to a lot of hospitals, and I just don't want to see that again. I hope we can avoid that by intervening, right? And I think we're intervening in the way that we should be intervening from the bottom first. Let's feel better, and then we can implement all the other things a little bit more easily. And people be more open to probably discussing it, even on forums like this, where even if we do Zooms about it, like we can get people together that are all kind of coming from the same place, all can relate to each other. And it's not just coming from like the outside only, always the way it's always been. I think I've heard that a lot from a lot of different people in a lot of different places. Just like the services aren't there, they're not great, the appointments are too long or too long of a wait, and in that time frame, people are coping in the wrong ways. So I really do hope that we just continue to get this message out and connect with more departments and more forward-thinking people and people with influence, so we can really make a difference here. And I think that'd be a really cool project for the next, half of my life, and raise my kids with that premise and just helping others, man. That's the service mentality, right? That's what we do. So how can we stop now, right?
What a gift. What a gift, right? What a gift
Yeah.
to you. What a gift to your family. What a gift to the fire service. What a gift to the world, right? Yeah.
It's profound for my life, and I know it's still not fully there yet, right? So it's a process. I don't want people to think like, hey, I'm great now. Like I still am tight. I still have pains, right? But I still deal with a lot of shit. So it's like, it's like you got to mitigate some and you got to let go of some. And it's kind of like you work it in like anything else. It's like a healthy lifestyle. It's a wellness lifestyle that you got to live, and you have to couple it with better habits, and make better decisions. And I think, I used to still drink. I kind of recently stopped. I just didn't feel the need for it anymore. Some days like, man, I really want a glass of wine, but like, I don't want to have that over me. I want to be able to have my body feel good. Like the more I feel good, the less I can care about that. And I know how bad that is. And as a trainer and a fitness guy, it's a Achilles heel for us in the service. Like it's like it was the only outlet we've ever had, was just go to the bar. Just go to the bar. Every party, every retirement, everything it revolves around that. I think it's just a bad mechanism for us, but it's the only thing really we have to just kind of numb it. So I look at it in both ways, where like, yeah, I'm still going through the process. Like I am not, I don't think you're ever gonna be out of the process. I think you always kind of just have to mitigate life, and you have one of it, and you have to be your best and feel your best. And if you don't recognize that early enough, like I recognize I'm still young enough to do a lot and I can retire. So you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take that step, and I'm comfortable with that, knowing that I have a purpose, knowing that this is actually building into something that I never even could imagine that people will catch on to this. Dr. Cefoli is like, I can't believe how many people you have kind of going with this thing with you guys, like providers all over the world forever. It's just a hard thing to explain, and it's a hard thing to grasp. But if you have a community that's built in, and we have trust built in, and it's coming from the heart, it's coming for the right reasons. It's like I want to see people have a better quality of life, right? And it doesn't matter about your money or your house or whatever. It's about quality of life and time with your family and time with your people or your tribe or your community, and to be interacting and to get back to that, because we're losing so much of it. And it's very vital in the service. It's very vital for us to be like that with each other. And if that goes, and everybody's just by soul siloed, it's going to be a disaster for the whole first responder community. There's no support there after a while, right? Everybody's like, yeah, whatever, man. Yep. Look at my draft picks. Yep. And this guy's struggling on the side. Maybe we need to have that one-on-one conversation again. I'm like, dude, you all right? Everything cool? Like, whatever, man. I'm worried about you. You've been drinking a lot. Whatever it is, you've been showing up late. Whatever it is, like, what's going on, man? And a lot of times, guys got shit going on.
Oh,
And I used to take, all our firefighters and come in here, let's talk about it. Let's just have a little powwow. And throughout this process, I was more adept to talking to people and like listening to them actually, because I do talk a lot, but become a better listener, become more empathetic, right? Feel for people again. Like I feel for these people. Like I'm sad, I'm happy, like I'm glad, I'm like, proud, and grateful and gratitude, like things that I never would think about years ago are like what I kind of like have revolved my life around. And I really start to think about every interaction now more and more. And I value that because I know that my time is limited. And I look back at all the stuff we took on, and I'm like, man, how bad did that take me off the back end? And I'm like, man, I'm really in a rush to kind of do this thing that I feel I have to do. I feel like it's a purpose. And my guys had that in them too, where it's like it flipped a switch in us, and we said, if we did do this, we can really bring a lot of healing to people. We can show them this. They can do it on their own. They can teach their kids and their kids' kids, and it could be like a thing where people just heal themselves. Right? That's how I see it. As wild as it is, it's the beginning stages of it though right now. So maybe a year ago, if we talked about it, my first thing with Alex was like, yeah, I felt better, my back, and very, very surface level. And it's gotten a lot deeper. It gets a lot deeper as you go along, and you just get more in tune, man. You get in tune with the plan and the path and what you're supposed to do and what your value is here. And this is a prime example of what happened to you in your life too. Like you're able to leave and do this now, and this has become a beacon. There are light sources out there, and I think that we're one of them. You're one of them, and people are looking for that. And when they find it and they get the healing, they're like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." It's crazy, man. The feedback we've gotten is amazing. Like I can go into like all these stories of people that have said these little things. Each one of them, this happened here, this happened there. It's like it makes me happy, because otherwise that would have never been the case for them, and they would have missed something. Yeah. So pretty cool stuff.
I see joy in you. I see joy in you.
Yeah, man. I got passion for it, and I have excitement for it.
Yeah.
Keeps you moving, man. Keeps you moving.
Love it.
Yeah.
So Rob, if there's a listener right now who's like, this sounds very intriguing, I want to learn more about it, I want to talk to Rob and his team.
Yeah.
How can they get a hold of you?
So right now we have a website up. It's FYR Tribe, FYRTRIBE.org. Gives us basic information. Our email link, our Gmail is firetribe@gmail. It does work on the website now, which is another step in the right direction. Look at you don't even try with a website that can help us out. That'd be great. And then Gmail is always the best for us right now. Website or Instagram is at FYR_tribe. And that'll have our logo up there. So follow the tribe. Our content there is what we kind of are continually putting out to share and show what this is. So a lot of that can be seen and heard through our testimonials and all the shaking videos we have. Because again, it shows what it is. Dr. Cefoli is on there as well. And I think in the future, we'll have some more resources available like YouTube and stuff like that. But again, we're like 4 firefighters, that are working and one's retired now. And we're just trying to all figure this out and create it. So the website and our Gmail and Instagram are basically our 3 go-tos as well. I'm on LinkedIn at Rob Cefoli, so if you want to shoot me a LinkedIn or something like that, you can get me on there too.
Awesome. Well, it's been a total honor, and I probably could do another couple hours with you for sure.
No doubt we can do a follow-up. I'm no stranger to 3-hour podcasts, so we could go down any rabbit hole you like. But
Love it.
I understand time is valuable, and I would love to do a follow-up. I think that we had spoken about maybe a collaboration down the line. So
I'd love to. 100%. Yeah.
Figure out maybe something up there with you guys and your people. So that'd be cool. Let's go.
So as we come to a close, is there one message, one thought you want to make sure that you have our listener today walk away with?
One only, huh? All right.
Only.
Well, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And if you're suffering, if you're going through some stuff, or somebody that's going through some stuff, we're here to help. Our tagline is here to help. And we've started the process of this in the attempt to reach the people that need it. And I think just through these platforms, through the listeners, there's going to be somebody out there that says, you know what, this sounds really interesting. Please reach out. Please don't hesitate to email. That's how we got our few two departments to kind of participate in the study. They were looking for stuff, and they heard it, and they go, you know what, this sounds really cool. You know, guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about, right? So there is help though, and you know, before you take a step in the wrong direction, and I've been down that road before. It's been a wild ride for me for years, and you know, you have one body, right? So let's take care of it. You'll be amazed at how you can feel like in a short amount of time, and how things will just change if you just stick with it. So here to help.
Love it. Yeah, for me it was 2 sessions, and I felt a world of difference. Just 2 sessions. So. All right, Rob, it's been a total honor, and definitely going to stay connected. Yeah. And thanks for sharing your wisdom with the world, and being brave and helping the first responder community. So to you and the tribe, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this awesome episode all about TRE and how it can kind of really save your life in a lot of aspects. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you took some notes. Reach out to Rob if you need to. Until next time, stay well. All right, that's a wrap.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to Beneath the Helmet. We hope that this podcast has provided you with valuable insights into the world of firefighters' health and wellness. Remember, caring for your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being is crucial to achieving optimal performance. Join us next time on Beneath the Helmet for more inspiring conversations. Until then, stay well.